Are you terrified of job interviews in English? Do you completely freeze up when a manager says, "Tell me a little bit about yourself"?
Don't panic. Whether you're looking for your dream job or just want to survive your next office meeting, we've got you covered. Welcome back to the Daily English Loop, the podcast where learning English feels natural, relaxed, and a lot of fun. I'm Lisa.
And I'm Alex. Today, we have a very practical and important topic. We're talking all about careers, office culture, and how to nail a job interview.
Exactly. It's a huge part of our daily lives, and we're going to teach you the perfect vocabulary for it. But before we get down to business, if you enjoy our podcast and want to learn with us every week, please take a moment to hit the subscribe button for the Daily English Loop.
Yes, please do. And if you like our friendly conversations, please give this episode a big thumbs up. Sharing this podcast with friends, family, or coworkers who are also learning English really helps our channel grow.
We truly appreciate your support, everyone. Okay, Alex, let's jump right in. We all need jobs to earn money, or we're currently studying to get a good job in the future. So let's start with the basics. Common professions. Alex, let me ask you the most basic question. What's your job?
Well, aside from hosting this podcast, my main job is working as a freelance graphic designer. I spend my days working on my computer, creating logos, designing websites, and making digital art for different companies. What about you, Lisa?
Well, my job is talking to all of you. I'm an English language tutor. I spend my days helping international students practice their speaking skills.
That's a wonderful job, Lisa. You're very patient and you have great energy for teaching.
Thank you, Alex. I really love my job because I get to meet people from all over the world. So we have a tutor and a designer. Let's talk about some other common jobs that our listeners might have or know about.
Sure. Let's think about the people who help us in our communities. For example, my older brother has a very difficult but amazing job. He's a nurse.
A nurse? Wow. So he works in a busy hospital or a medical clinic?
Yes, he works long shifts at a large city hospital. He takes care of patients who are sick or recovering from surgery. It requires a lot of medical knowledge and a very kind heart.
Nurses are heroes. That's an incredibly important job. What about your other friends? What do they do?
One of my best friends from college is an architect.
An architect? That's a big word. Can you explain what an architect does?
An architect is someone who designs buildings. They draw the plans for houses, office towers, and even museums. They have to be good at art and math.
That sounds very complicated. My cousin has a very different kind of job. She's a flight attendant.
Oh, a flight attendant. That means she works on airplanes, traveling through the sky.
Exactly. She flies all over the world. Her job is to make sure the passengers are safe and comfortable during the flight. She serves food and drinks, but her main focus is safety.
That sounds like an exciting job. She gets to visit so many different countries. So we've talked about a nurse, an architect, and a flight attendant. There are so many ways to make a living.
There really are. But Alex, many of our listeners probably work in a traditional business environment. Let's talk about working in an office.
Good idea. The office environment has its own culture and its own vocabulary.
Yes. For example, in almost every office, there's an accountant. An accountant is the person who manages the money, pays the bills, and does the taxes for the company.
Right. That's a job that requires you to be very good with numbers. And of course, every office has a manager or a director. They're the leaders who make the big decisions and guide the team.
Team, that's a vital word in the workplace. T-E-A-M. When you work in an office, you have to work together with your colleagues.
Absolutely. Being a good team player is often more important than being the smartest person in the room. You have to communicate well.
Speaking of communication, let's teach our listeners some simple, polite phrases they can use at work. How should you greet your coworkers in the morning?
Well, it depends on the office culture, but keeping it simple is always best. When I walk into an office, I always smile and say, "Good morning, everyone," or "Hi, David, how was your weekend?"
That's very friendly. And when the workday is finished and you're leaving the office, what should you say?
I usually say, "Have a great evening," or simply, "See you tomorrow." It leaves a positive final impression.
Yes, see you tomorrow is perfect. Now, what happens if you're working on a project and you get confused? How do you ask a coworker for help politely?
That's a crucial skill. You should never just say, "Do this for me," or "I need help now." That sounds like an order.
Right, that's too aggressive. You want to be polite.
Instead, you should approach their desk, say, "Excuse me," and then ask, "Do you have a minute to help me with this report, please?"
Do you have a minute? That's a great phrase. It shows that you respect their time. And of course, the magic word is always, please.
And when they finish helping you, the other magic phrase is, "Thank you so much. I really appreciate it."
I really appreciate it sounds very professional and sincere. What about in a formal meeting? Sometimes office meetings can be intimidating.
They can be. In a meeting, the most important thing you can do is listen actively to your manager and your colleagues.
But what if you have a really good idea that you want to share? You shouldn't just sit in silence.
Exactly. If you want to speak, you can wait for a pause and politely say, "Excuse me, I'd like to add something," or "I have a suggestion."
That's a very professional way to enter the conversation. It shows you're engaged with the team's goals. Now, Alex, here's a tough situation. What if you make a mistake at work? Maybe you send an email to the wrong person or you calculate a number incorrectly.
Oh, mistakes happen to everyone. The worst thing you can do is hide it or blame someone else. You have to take responsibility.
How do you do that using polite English?
You should immediately go to your manager and say, "I apologize, but I made an error on the report. I'll fix it right away."
I apologize, but I made an error. That's excellent. And following it up with, "I'll fix it right away," shows that you're a problem solver.
Exactly. Managers don't expect perfection, but they do expect honesty and quick action.
So we've discussed different careers and how to be polite in the office. But Alex, how do you actually get the job in the first place? Let's talk about the job interview.
The job interview. The most stressful part of the whole process. Sitting across a desk from a manager who's judging your every word.
It can be very scary, especially if you're doing the interview in your second language, but we can help our listeners prepare.
Yes, we can. Let's break down a few of the most common interview questions. The very first thing an interviewer usually says is, "Tell me a little bit about yourself."
Oh, that question is so broad. It feels like a trap. People often don't know where to start. Should they talk about their childhood or their hobbies?
No, definitely not. Keep it strictly professional. You want to give a short summary of your career history.
How should they structure their answer?
Start with your current situation. For example, currently, I'm working as a sales associate at a retail store where I handle customer service and inventory.
Okay, start with the present. What's next?
Then, quickly mention your past experience. Before that, I studied marketing at university and completed an internship at a small advertising agency.
Present, then past. And how should they finish their answer?
Finish with the future. Connect it to the job you're applying for. Now, I'm looking to bring my customer service skills to a larger corporate team like yours.
Wow, Alex. Present, past, future. That's a brilliant and simple formula. It keeps the answer focused and professional.
Thank you. Let's move to the second very common question. The interviewer will almost always ask, "Why do you want to work for this company?"
This is where you have to do your homework before the interview. You can't just say, "Because I need money to pay my rent."
Even if it's true, don't say that. You need to show that you're genuinely interested in the business.
So, what's a good way to answer?
You should connect your personal values to the company's goals. For example, if you're applying to a technology company, you could say, "I'm very passionate about innovative software, and I admire how your company is changing the industry."
I'm passionate about. That's a great phrase to use. If you're applying to work at an environmental charity, you could say, "I'm deeply committed to protecting nature, and I want to contribute to your conservation projects."
Exactly. Show them that you care about the work they do. Okay, Lisa, here's a question that many people struggle with. What are your greatest strengths?
Ah, strengths. Your skills, the things you're exceptionally good at. It can feel uncomfortable to brag about yourself.
It can, but an interview is the one place where you have to sell yourself. So what are some good professional strengths to mention?
Well, in today's digital world, technical skills are always good. You could say, "I'm highly proficient in data analysis software," or "I have advanced skills in web design."
Those are hard skills. What about soft skills, personality traits?
Those are just as important. You could say, "I'm an excellent communicator," or "I'm highly adaptable and I learn new systems very quickly."
I learn quickly is fantastic. It tells the employer that even if you don't know everything on day one, you'll figure it out fast. Also, speaking multiple languages is a massive strength.
Yes. To all our listeners, don't forget to mention that you're actively learning English. You can say, "I'm bilingual. I speak Spanish natively, and I have a strong working proficiency in English." Employers love that.
That's a huge advantage in the global job market. Okay, let's do a quick recap of those 3 key interview tips for our listeners.
Tip number 1. When asked to introduce yourself, use the present, past, future formula to summarize your professional background.
Tip number 2. When asked why you want the job, connect your personal passions to the company's mission. Do your research.
And tip number 3. When discussing your strengths, highlight a mix of technical skills and soft skills, like adaptability and language proficiency.
That's a winning strategy. Now, the interview is almost over, but before you leave, the manager will usually say, "Do you have any questions for me?"
This is a test. You must never say, "No, I think you covered everything." It makes you look uninterested.
Exactly. You have to ask at least one smart question. What's a good question to ask, Lisa?
A really great question to ask the manager is, what are the biggest challenges the person in this role will face in their first 3 months?
Oh, that's an excellent question. It shows you're already thinking strategically about the reality of the job, not just the easy parts.
It also forces the manager to give you honest information about what the work will actually be like. Another good question is, can you tell me a bit about the team culture here?
Team culture is so important for your own happiness. Asking about it shows that you value collaboration and a positive work environment.
Asking thoughtful questions leaves a strong, lasting impression as you shake their hand and walk out the door.
It certainly does. Wow, Lisa, we've covered a massive amount of information today.
We really have. We talked about nurses, architects, and flight attendants. We practiced polite office phrases like "I apologize for the error," and we gave a masterclass on how to survive a job interview.
It was a very productive conversation. I hope our listeners took some mental notes or even wrote some of these phrases down in a notebook.
I hope so too. Navigating a career in a second language is a huge challenge, but with practice, it becomes so much easier. You just have to be confident and polite.
That's the perfect summary. Well, I think we've reached the end of our time for today's episode.
Oh, time always flies when we're having a good conversation.
It really does. To everyone listening, Whether you're on your way to the office, sitting in a classroom, or relaxing at home, thank you so much for joining us on the Daily English Loop today.
Yes, thank you for being such an amazing audience. We hope this episode gave you some confidence for your next day at work or your next big interview.
Before we officially sign off, we have a fun little homework question for you to answer down in the comments section.
That's right. We love reading your English writing. Our question for you today is this: what is your dream job?
Yes! If you could have any job in the entire world, what would it be? Do you want to be a famous chef, a software engineer, a wildlife photographer?
Please type your answer in the comments below. Describe your dream job in English. Don't worry about perfect grammar. Just focus on expressing your ideas. We read every single comment.
We can't wait to see what your dream careers are. Also, please remember to subscribe to the Daily English Loop so you never miss our next practical English lesson.
Thank you all again for your wonderful support. Work hard, stay positive, and keep practicing your English every single day.
Have a fantastic and productive week, everyone. We'll see you next time.
Bye, friends. See you soon.